All right, so this one's about stewarding the influence that comes from your creativity. So this was your idea of the episode. So speak into it.
Yeah. So there's like a whole thing with creatives to where some people believe you should be a role model. Some people believe that you don't have to be a role model. But as like Christians and believers, how do we interpret that? How do we say like whatever I make creatively? Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate you because that was about to mess me up. But whatever I make, should there be a certain responsibility for me as somebody who is a believer, a representative of Christ, to steward my influence well? If people, well, not if, because most of the time you're going to have at least one person that like your stuff. So, you know, to your audience, is there a responsibility to steward that influence you have with them well?
I'm going to start it off, but I'm still processing. I know I do.
Yeah.
But I grew up an older brother.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to watch myself, what I say, how I carry myself. And so when I pick content or when I'm creating content, I'm always having my mind. And I also too, like, I was in youth development for a long time. And so like when I left youth development, I used to have a lot of my students and kids follow me on social media. So literally for them, I don't put cursing or I put clean versions. So like, or just like whatever I'm creating, it has to match who they've gotten to know.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just, for me, I feel like you have a responsibility. What, you know, Uncle Ben has said the infamous line, with great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah.
You are given a gift or an ability. I feel like you do have to handle it with some type of care. And that's just where I'm going to start.
That works. Yeah. I think it goes to your conviction.
Yeah.
If you believe something is to be a sin, then, you know, act accordingly, even if it might be something that's not a sin. So like the prime example that I'll take this one till the day I die. As Christians, you can drink. You can go out, you can have a drink. If you getting drunk, you're probably crossing the line.
Yeah,
that's
sure.
That's just what it is. So similarly, right? Can we listen to secular cussing music?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. For me personally, there was a time and space where I didn't want to.
Yeah,
and it was a prayer of mine. I was like, God, I need music that's gonna replace all this stuff.
Yeah.
And this was I'd say prime Christian music. This was probably 2013, 2014, 2015.
Yeah. Like
this was when like KB was really got into the good stuff.
Yeah,
and
this uncomfortable Andy.
And Derek Minor, like he left Reach to form RMG and stuff like that. So it was that time frame. And the radio stations were just excellent. So we had Air One before it got, I think it got reprogrammed. If you don't know what Air One is, it's a sister station of K-Love. So it's one of the main like Christian not CHH, what's it called? Contemporary Christian.
CCM.
Yeah, CCM. Yeah, it's like one of the main ones. And so Air One is now a lot like the worship. But back then, Air One was gritty. Like it was rock, it was rap. The first time I heard of Andy Mineo, it was played on Air One.
Ooh, okay.
Hey, shout out to Andy Mineo.
Yeah, and that was
yes.
That was
we need him on the pod.
What album was that?
Facts.
It wasn't Uncomfortable. I think it was Heroes for Sale.
Heroes for Sale?
Yeah, I think it was his first single off that album. That station was played. So that was really cool. And then just more music came out. So I've been rocking with like Social Club ever since like Animal Kingdom, like when Marty was like super goofy. If you don't know who these people are, look them up. They're great. And so it was just a prayer. I was like I need this music for you to care for my soul and my peace, because listening to everything, like we grew up on Eminem,
yeah,
right? We grew up on Slim Shady LP and Marshmallow, which Man,
How did we get away with listening and reciting Eminem? So I never got in trouble. Well, at home because I grew up in church, so it was no. But outside of that, with my aunts and them and all that, I listened to Eminem a lot.
Yeah. And like I was even listening, what song came on the radio the other day? I randomly just put on the radio, but Too Close.
Oh yeah, bro, that song, wow.
I was like, this is an old song. When did this song come out? It was like 97. I was 11.
And we're singing it with our whole chest.
Dancing real close.
I had no
You're
business.
making it hard for me.
My God. So it's just like so yeah, we do have a space to steward.
Yeah.
And I think there's a line that can be pushed in as creatives where it's like, you know what, I am gonna push a little bit harder. Like, oh my gosh, if we could, like, Game of Thrones is so great.
Oh, sure.
If we could get Game of Thrones, but it's the Old Testament,
Fire.
whoa, like
We
could
need
you
Dallas to do it.
Could you imagine?
Yeah, for sure, Dallas, you need to get on that.
I can hear the Christians now. I'm gonna try not to. I love y'all, but y'all gotta chill. I would love
They're not gonna
to
like
watch
us.
on HBO a bunch of men getting circumcised and then slaughtered. That's an Old Testament story. If you didn't know that, that's an Old Testament
It
story.
is, yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
but you're not gonna get that on just from.
Nah.
But like the stories in the Old Testament are so good. So I do believe that there's space to push and really, really push.
Oh yeah.
There's a horror movie. I'll have to see if I can look it up. But it's a Christian horror movie.
There is a Christian horror movie, yeah.
What?
It's one of the more.
Yeah.
It's one of the more popular. It's
me
not
hip.
it's not The Exorcism. It's not The Exorcist.
And it's like in the last 2 years.
Yeah, I'll have to look it up real quick. Hopefully I can find it. But
And I like horror movies, and I felt convicted, so I stopped. I don't do the spiritual ones, but
I stopped. That's another episode.
That's a whole nother.
That's a whole other show. We ain't touch on it. Has nothing to do with creative, but has a lot to do with holy crap.
But secretly, I do like horror films, and I did not know there was. Give me hip tonight. I need that.
Yeah. Cause my boy Drew, he watched it. Yep. Him and his wife went to go see it.
Shout out to Drew.
Yeah. Shout out to Drew. My boy Sergeant Drew.
Yes, sir.
Man, I'll keep talking. I'm gonna
Yeah.
find it.
I think though, like, I think it's hard, man, because like you want to steward it well, but at the same time you don't want to idolize the affirmation of those who receive the influence.
Mm-hmm.
Because once you do that, then like you're not even serving God no more. You're just doing it so that mankind will look at you and approve.
Yeah.
And that's like hard, because I even think about like I remember Caleb Gordon was having a conversation, I think with Ruslan, and they were talking about, should Christian artists collaborate with secular artists?
Absolutely.
Yes.
And he was saying no. And he was saying because like he used Lecrae Blessings as a version of why not. Because he was saying like what Ty Dolla $ign was saying wasn't like Christian or anything like that. And so like that's like the hard part, because like you want to go to the lost and show them, like, if you have that influence with those people, because there are people that I know that like are different religions, different beliefs, anything, but you know, I'm still able to do life with them in a way to where I show them what Christ looks like. Now, do I do it perfectly? No. But like I try my best to, like, if I have any type of influence with them, show them what that looks like, but in an authentic way. Like, I'm not going to try to be holier than thou with them. And then with my Christian friends, be like, all right, now we can take a drink. Like, like it ain't about to be like that.
No, for sure. And I think like it's all about how you do it and your influences. And like, you know, I think Lecrae doing work with secular artists, that was cool for me. I grew up in church and I listened to Kirk Franklin, Fred Hammond, Donnie McClurkin. After that, I don't know. Like, I listened to them at time to time, but on my way to church, when I left church, I was playing Wayne, Cole, Gucci.
Yeah.
All if I could drive, I was playing those, and I never listened to Christian music because it was just so, you know, copy and paste.
Mm-hmm.
But Lecrae, when I saw him develop his skill, and Andy Mineo and KB, like, they did it differently, but they also connected with other secular artists, but if we're truly going to those places and we're truly going to the lost, then it's going to look different. So yeah, should you work with secular artists? I think you should, but you also have to like have a standard. I think if you do life with people and they get to know you, if you don't mind me using your drinking stuff,
nah, you good.
I saw Ivor like, would drink and we would kick it, all that, and it was dope at the time. And he just was like, I'm not gonna drink anymore. And I was like, what? And I watched him slowly change, and then eventually people started to correct themselves around him. Where eventually people would kind of be like, man, you ain't gonna have one drink, and even I'm guilty of that. You ain't gonna have a drink with me, bro. And I eventually started to like correct myself because of how he lived his life and things like that. So I already knew that when I was engaging or we would spend time together, I already knew that's off the table. So I think with Lecrae, you got those people that will then correct themselves, or most of those secular artists are connected to the church and lost it, or they put it down or whatever. But now you have someone reaching back and they're doing that. We don't know what that recording session was for Blessing. Right. We have absolutely no idea.
Yeah.
But my issue with the Christians and their social media presence, and they're saying that they sold their soul, and I feel like we've turned church from a hospital for people who need it to a country club for people who don't.
Yeah.
And it's just become this exclusive club that we believe this one thing, and we become these social clubs, social norms, and then we exclude everyone else out.
I've been to many concerts in my younger no kid days, and I've never came across protesters at a single one. But I go to an Andy Mineo concert in Dallas,
and they are there,
and there are people there. You're going there. I'm like, bro,
it's crazy.
Like, go somewhere else. Get away.
Yeah, go ahead.
Real quick, the Conjuring series, I believe, is a Christian film.
Oh no!
Shut up.
I think it is.
The Conjuring.
I've seen one Conjuring. I think the first one a long time ago when I was like a teenager, and I was like, absolutely not. I'm done. I don't need to see this hocus pocus head turning. No. Slashers or Final Destination, but I'm not watching.
I think.
But if Conjuring is it,
yeah.
There's a lot of people who are saying the Conjuring franchise is a, now it's not a Christian film how we would think. It's not about, but I do, if I remember hearing about it in an interview, they were talking about where this film was a bit different because they wanted the redemption, restoration kind of experience with it. And I've never seen this film, so please fact check me if I'm wrong. But I'm pretty sure, I'm like 70% sure that it's a Christian-ish film.
Listen, I will go into that gray area if I can get other people to vouch for it. If you can vouch for it, I will give it a chance.
And you know who I'll vouch for? That a lot of people don't like, especially Christians. What's the series? The Chosen. Even though I've only seen like 4 episodes.
I mess with The Chosen.
Who's not vouching for The Chosen?
I know there's a lot of people who don't like it.
They want to
because you're taking liberties with the Bible, and the Bible is very protected. I'm like, we need these.
They're
stories.
taking, and for me, I'm a visual learner,
right?
And my thing when I study the Bible is I read the scriptures, cool, but I need to know what the culture was like.
Yeah,
and I think The Chosen does a very good job of painting a full picture where we narrow into the scriptures, and I think The Chosen gives you a expanded view. And you just, like I said, take it, I tell B, my wife, as she's going through, the Gospels and things. And I said, I think if it helps you, and she's a visual learner too, is what you read, look at that episode of The Chosen. Or if you're about to tackle, a woman at the well, look at that episode of The Chosen, and it gives you a better picture. Well, I'm not going to say a better picture, but it gives you a different aspect of it. I love what they did with Nicodemus in The Chosen, because growing up Baptist in a Black Baptist church, we got told like Nicodemus was someone that was questioning Jesus or doubted Jesus. And we look at just who he was, he just needed an understanding.
Yeah.
And he had, he may have had that opportunity. I won't give it away for everyone, but I love how they portray Nicodemus.
Yeah.
And it gave a full circle moment. And it also helped me deal with, my brothers and sisters on this earth when I go and share the gospel, because you don't know what everyone's story is.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I love it when you can push the envelope and go. And I guess going back to the original question of the stewardship, I love Foggy Raw, yeah.
Foggy Raw.
Foggy Raw. I don't know if I would consider him a Christian rapper, but every song I heard him on, it was with other Christians.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, oh, he's probably a Christian rapper.
Like that song Praise.
And then, what's the song with Annie Medeo? Coquito? I think
Something
it's
like that,
Coquito or something. It's some type of drink. But then I heard him on a song with, what's the dude's name? I want to say David Banner, but it's not David Banner. But I'm sorry, Toby.
Toby Newigwe.
Yeah. And I'm just like, okay, Toby. And so I love it. And I think there were stories of Kanye, rest in peace, whatever he's going through. I still love him to death. Jesus King is the best Christian album I've ever heard. I'll stand on that 10 toes down.
You're not alone.
Yeah.
You're not alone.
And just the stories that came out of it was that, like, if you're gonna come in, like, you're not gonna rap, you're not gonna drink. Like, I want this to be like a spiritual thing. Like, there were stories where he allegedly was like doing Bible study and stuff with them. I'm like, that's dope.
Yeah,
that's dope. And I think he brought the Clips brothers back together, because I guess they were
on that use this gospel.
Yep.
And so there's stories of that where, like, God can use things when you like, if you limit yourself to I can only operate in this space because they're the right Christians and they're the true Christians. Like, you miss where God can really move.
Yeah, because even too, like, for like the members of Clips, like, I always forget his name. Pusha T's brother.
No Malice.
Malice.
It's No Malice now.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. No Malice. Like, for him, he like basically went and turned into a Christian rapper, but like now they're about to do an album together. So I'm like,
grinding.
Right.
Yeah, I'm saying.
And so that's gonna be interesting to see, like, what that aspect of creativity will be like, because Pusha T, he rapping about drugs every time. It's gonna happen. Somebody got coke.
Yep.
And so, like, for him, it's about to be different. But I wonder how he would steward his influence with his brother in that situation. Yeah. So that's gonna be interesting, to say the least.
I've wondered, some of my favorite rappers turn to Christian. J. Cole is my favorite rapper of all time, and I'll stand on that. And I've wished that there's some songs that I've listened to where I'll be like, if you just tweak this just a little bit, man, this will preach. And Pusha T is one of my favorite. I feel like I used to say, as far as when you're rapping about drugs, he's one of the best to do it as far as creatively and poetically that he talks about it. And I've often wondered, what if he just joined his brother? And, And or they could have just talked about how, Pusha T kind of came to Christ. We know how No Malice did it, but what did that look like? I would love to see that. And that's why I loved when Lecrae worked with secular artists, because you got to see what that looked like. You got to see God in them.
Yeah. I think it's important that we as Christians learn to contextualize the gospel, that we can speak to the human condition. Like, the author C.S. Lewis did it with the Chronicles of Narnia, and he has so many like really good books, like the Screw Tape Letters, which is one of my favorite ones, where it's a story of an uncle demon speaking to his nephew demon about how to keep the Christian man busy so he can't worship God. Like it's just a dope story. And so
I gotta look that up.
So to be able to take like J. Cole songs and present the gospel with them is just a dope thing to be able to do. Or even like listening to like AC/DC and Black Sabbath, like back in the day, like these are actually like
weren't they like, they were spiritual, weren't they?
They were. They were dark, but they were truthful. Like, they were still truthful.
Yeah.
And just that ability, because the story of the gospel speaks to everyone.
Yeah.
Like redemption will always speak to like the person like Robert Downey Jr., who was a
Tim Allen,
like drug addicts and all these things, just messed up people, and going from, especially with RDJ, going from Iron Man to Endgame, where he just completely is like, he's this billionaire playboy. He's like, I don't care about no myself, to now like, I'm saving the world. Sorry, spoiler alert if you haven't seen it. In 5 years. It took me a while to see it though. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
I think
but by now it's a wrap.
I think Endgame came out and I waited for streaming because I just wasn't about to go pay. But anyways, but like for him to sacrifice himself for the common good, only to come back kind of ruins it. But that's another thing. But
Victor Von Doom.
Yeah.
He had to save the Marvel universe, and I feel like that's just it started with him.
Yeah.
I mean, it was technically Wesley Snipes, Edward Norton, and Jennifer Gardner, but he was the draw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for him to like Marvel, I mean, we're getting on topic, but Marvel was going, they were going, I won't say nowhere, but they didn't have a clear direction.
Mm-hmm.
And so to bring him back, I think it focuses it. But I love the RDJ story. Not even just the Marvel, just in his career.
Yeah.
You know, he had a legal trouble, he had a drug addiction problem, and then he just had an opportunity, and then he's never looked back. And I love that. We cannot appreciate the light, or we cannot have light without darkness.
Yeah.
And that's my issue with or just Christianity, period, especially now in America, where we just kind of getting out of our darkness and we put it in a box and we've ignored it or just kind of put it away, and we're like, we're not associated with that anymore.
Yeah. And so for the creative, it's almost, I mean, we're talking about stewarding, but it's again, just being able to push that envelope, to be able to do these creative things in unique ways, to speak. Like the stories don't change, like the gospel stories don't change, and being able to use them and use like this past 30 days, 40 days I've been ever going through the Psalms and just reading stuff, and like there's a verse Chris and I talked about it on a podcast we did, but there's a prayer where David, or whoever the author is of that psalm, is like, happy is the one that smashes the babies on the rocks, which is it's like Psalm 127. It's crazy.
I think that's part of those imprecatory songs.
Yeah, but it's just this idea, and I swear I did precatory, but it's just the idea, like my prayer is, I'm so dreaded and awful and terrible for my enemies that I'm gonna be happy when you God like exact your vengeance and rescue us. That's gonna be this thing. And it's like yo, and so I think push the envelope, steward that well. If you're comfortable with it, if you can do it, I say go for it.
Yeah.
And
I think too is just like recognizing, like, because some of us think we got more influence than we do. And like then we start doing stuff when it's like ain't nobody really watching. But for real. But once we do get that influence, it's just, I think it's more so being like aware of your influence and how you're using it. Because like honestly, like if you're following God and your influence is rooted in that, then like you'll be fine anyway. And so that's the biggest thing. Like, just got to make sure you following him as you lead others who follow you.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, and allow, if you're in a position where you are like the leader, like finding spaces where others underneath you can lead. And so I work with a great group of young individuals here in Cincinnati, and I tell them all the time, like, you're going to be reaching people with the gospel in places that like they'll never, like their friends, their family will never come to church. They'll never want to be introduced to a minister and a preacher. They not interested. And you're that representation. And so again, it goes back to the stories, right? Like I don't know if Pusha T's ever going to go to church. No, I don't know if Mal's going to. He probably, he's a Christian. He's probably going to church. Is Pusha T going to go to church? No. Are the people that hang around Pusha T Gonna go to church? Probably not.
Yeah.
So it's like when you have that responsibility, and some of the best artists that are out touring are background people from the church. Like the amount of church drummers that are out touring with big main artists, and it's like, and these individuals have grown up in church. They've been discipled in church, and it's just like, it's almost like there's a need. I think we forget it as church leaders. But there's a need to be like, hey, you're a leader too. Like go do this. I have two guys that they were my youth guys from way back, and when I had this realization, I like texted the one guy and I was like, I never told you to like go make this. Like I poured into you for years and years and years as a disciple, but I never told you
go make this.
Go do it to someone else now. Like pray for that person and like hang out with them. Like now you go do that. And I think we get scared because we want them to be like perfect, and we never like go mess up. Just go do it.
You gotta go.
Yeah, just put it out.
Yeah, right. Just put it out. Yeah, and that's real. I think that's important too, because like me and my friend Brian, we be talking about this sometimes. How like sometimes people who are in leadership positions, they put so much of the leadership on themselves that when it's really time for them to go sit down, they don't.
Yeah.
And, you know, because they're not used to stewarding that leadership well and, you know, giving people some responsibilities and delegation and things like that, they end up being like the 70-year-old pastor of a church, to where like, you know, you got all these young people you can't relate to now.
Yeah.
And not saying like a 70-year-old can't relate at all, but, you know, God might have told him years ago to pass it off to the 35-year-old somebody. So, you know, is we have to be mindful of that.
Yeah.
I think that's important.
Yeah. And back in the day, that's what I loved about Pastor K.
Yeah.
Because like I came from a church space, shout out to my church family back home, where we were, as young people, we were encouraged to do these different things. And so when I moved here, and I was like, hey, can we do like the worship nights?
Yeah.
And his response to me wasn't yes or no. It was like, he's like, do I gotta do anything? I was like, no. He's like, have at it.
He was notorious for saying that.
And he's like, I trust you. I know you're not gonna do anything wild and crazy. Like, we're not gonna be up there,
real.
rapping Eminem or anything like that. But it was like a worship. He's like, do I gotta do anything? Do I gotta be there? I'm like, if you want to come, and he's like, go do it. And so we get so caught up in. And it's almost like a bad stewardship. Like we hold on so tight to things.
Yeah.
It's like, can we just get
just a little bit.
bit.
Yeah. And I think that's good. Yeah. And we need more leaders that do that. Yeah. Especially within the church. Because like if you just nickel and diming the people that you lead, then they're not gonna really grow.
Yeah.
I think it's like that self-awareness you were talking about. Is that you gotta recognize at some point that, you know, young preacher as I am, when I get up there, I think you need to be looking at who can take that torch and pass that on. And I believe that we all need to have like 3 levels of relationships in our life.
Yeah.
The mentor and mentee, that's someone above you, pouring into you. You need to have, I always call like the hip brothers, or the the iron
peers.
sharpens iron, your peers. Who is somebody that's on my level that inspires me? Y'all too. And then who am I pouring into? And who am I being a mentor to?
Yeah.
If you have all 3 of those relationships, then you should be well balanced in life.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's the early church model. It's Barnabas, Paul, and Timothy.
For sure.
Man, yeah.
It's there.
Yeah.
Dang, yeah. I like that.
It's real. Real rap.
That's what happens when you read the Bible. Maybe you should read the Bible.
Right.
You about to make a lot of people
Read
upset.
your Bible.
Read your Bible.
Yeah. Nah, that's good though. Yeah. I think that's good.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Dope.
I think we answered it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a wrap.